ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be basically setting you up for the upcoming project that you're going to be working on. So we're going to get you set up into TinkerCad, and we're also going to set up the TinkerCad classroom, as that'll make all of our lives easier to make this project a success. The first step, really simple. Let's go to TinkerCad. Now you could type it in the bar, but I find most students tend to default to Google search, or you can go tinkercad.com. Now, if you want, you can click the login right here. I'm going to use the .com, the homepage, so you can see this is the website you want to go to. Our next step is we don't have to sign up. The nice thing is, because you're using, we have our Google accounts. TinkerCad is locked into that, so you already have a TinkerCad account using your GetYou account. So if you're using a Chromebook, it might auto log in. If you're using one of the other devices around the school, might or might not. Your mileage may vary. So you're going to go and click login, not sign up. Now you would think, as we are going to set up with class code with students with class code, we're not going to be using that. Do not click that button, or do not click student accounts. It does some stuff that doesn't work as well, and I find it not as easy. You're going to click on personal accounts. You're then going to sign in with Google. Now, if you're using Chromebook, it might autolog, it might not. If it doesn't, or you're using any other device that doesn't, here's what you're going to do. You're going to put your first name dot last name at getyou.sd73.bc.ca. That's it. You would then click next. Make sure you have the at getyou.sd73.bc.ca. If you just put your first last name, it's going to default to your Gmail account. And when you put in your school password, it's not going to work. Make sure you have the at getyou.sd73.bc.ca. If you're asked for an account, you would click next. Use your regular password that you would use on a Chromebook or your account. If I click next here, nothing's going to happen because the account doesn't exist. Let's see what we got next. Before you get started, what we want to do is get you into the classroom. Now, I'm on my home page here, as I kind of said it a little bit before on the video, and now we want to get into a classroom. So what you're going to want to do is click on classes. Now, as you can see here, I'm teaching some classes because I have a teacher account, but you are going to see this. To join a classroom, it's as easy as Google Classroom. You just hit Join Classroom and add in the link provided by the teacher. It's that simple. Okay? Now, if we go into the classroom, so let's go to this one right here. As you can see, I kind of had to block that out because this classroom, I didn't want this code to be existent permanently, so it's blocked out, but there'll be a class code that your teacher will give right there. Now, and as you can see, I have no students in this one. But what's important for you guys is if you create a new drawing and do the project in there, your teacher can't see it, which means they can't print it. Okay? Now, if you go into activities, you're going to see, in this case, the cookie cutter. So when you click on that, you're going to see I've created a file for there. What you want to do is click Tinker this. What this will do is make a copy for you. Okay? Now, the first thing, and as you can see, I kind of put something there, and that was on purpose, but the first thing you want to do is you can delete the cookie cutter part, just put your first and last name on there. Okay? And that is very important because that way I can tell all the different files for when it comes to printing. Now, if you do your work in here, your teachers can see it, work it, and print it. If you don't, it goes into another. And so make sure when you're working on your class projects, it's in the project file that your teacher has provided in the classroom. Okay, so now let's get to the basics on how to use this software. All right, now that you've signed in. Now, if you've never signed into TinkerCad before, it's going to auto default you to some tutorials. Now, if you want to do the tutorials, you can. Usually about the first 3 gives you kind of a solid understanding. If you want to get out of the tutorials, what you're going to want to do, and at any point you get stuck, to bring you back to the home page, all you have to do is click this TinkerCad box, in the corner, and that'll default you to your home no matter where you are on the website. So when in doubt, click that. It'll bring you back to the screen that's in front of you right now. Now, if at any point you're lost, struggling, or you think you need more help or tutorials, what you're going to do is go to the resource right here, Learning Center, and I'm not going to click it because it just brings me to a place I don't feel like clicking a couple back, but it has all the tutorials you could do, or if you want to do something really cool with this project, it might even give you some ideas. Okay, now that you've kind of decided it's time to get to work, here's where you're going to go. First, go to Classes, because remember, we want to make sure we're in the right file. You're going to go to your project. I'm going to use the cookie cutter project on here, Foods. Now, this case is nobody here, blacked out again, and then you're going to go to Activities, and then click on Cookie Cutter, then tinker this, that'll create a copy for you, and now let's go to the basics. Okay, now we are on our basic layer. Okay, so I'm going to go over the most basic of controls just to get you started, and then you'll be switching to whatever project video you're working on there. Okay, so you come off onto the screen with just this in front of you. So I have my mouse. To go in and out with zoom, you have two methods. Number one, I'm using the wheel on my mouse to go in and out. If you're on a Chromebook or don't have a wheel, what you can do is go over here, zoom in, zoom out, and then if you hover at any point over there, if you see it says zoom in and it gives the plus, that'll also give you the keyboard commands you can use. It also tells you what it does, which is really nice. If at any point you're lost, just hover there over any button and you'll know what it does. Okay, now the next thing is if you hold the left button, you can see the boxes coming out. That'll be used to select or deselect objects. Useful. If you want to move the camera around, right click and then just move the mouse around and it'll let you kind of move around with the screen. Okay? Now, we're going to have to put a block onto the paper so I can show the next commands, but really quite simple. So, on your right here is your shapes. Now, this software for your project is like Lego. It gets put together, and here's your building blocks. Now, for this project, for most projects, I'd recommend keeping very basic shapes, but if you are ambitious, now keep in mind if you're going to be using a 3D printer with your project, don't get too ambitious because it does cause some problems later. This software does have various different types of structures and like everyday objects right there. But for most projects, I'd actually recommend using basic shapes because it just seems to work a lot better. So I'm going to drag an object out, pretty simple. Left click on it, drag it right into the middle of the paper. And this is where you can change the size of the blocks, and you've kind of got three ways. Number one, you've got the slider. You can click on there and type in a number, or you can manipulate the block through the white and black boxes, and very simple and quick. The white boxes give you two axes of change, so you can change the left or right with this one. Now in this case with the white it's only up and down, so it's one axis, but you get the idea. The black ones are only one, so you can do the length or the width. These arrows over here are for angle, and at any point if you don't make another move after, you'll see those numbers come up. You can click on the number as I did there and type in your own value and change it that way. Okay, now if you can also change color just by clicking this, and if you want to make this a cutting block, which is going to be vital in many different projects, all you'd have to do is click there. Now we can see over here we've got two color cutting blocks that are common, but I digress. Okay, and then if you are finished with your block, you've got your lock right here. So if you lock it until you click that button again, I can't click on this, I can't delete it, I can't do anything with it. It just saves your position, which can be very valuable if you're working on a project. So I'm going to unlock it again. And let's say you're over here and you've lost the block and you don't know where it is. If you've highlighted, as we can see box right here, we're going to click on this button, Fit View, and that'll bring you right back. If you want to go back to that very first screen when you came back, clicks there, and you can, if you looked over here, you can watch this box flip around. What this is telling you where your camera is. So if I want to just see the top, I click on the top. If I want to rotate it, you can just click on this and you can get the exact view that you want with your object. And it's incredibly simplistic, which is awesome. But if you want to return to the start, hit your home button. Now, this button is if you want to switch to a 2D view. So switch, now it's 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D. All that's doing is change the perspective. I almost never use that button, but some people enjoy it. And this one is just, again, to focus right on the object you want there. Okay, now let's say you wanted to put two boxes together. All we'd have to do is have the boxes touching each other. As you can see, you can just push it in, doesn't matter. Now, as I said near the start of the video, if you the left click, you can drag and drop the box. We can see we've highlighted two objects. Then we're going to go over here and click the group button. And what that does is it just joins the box together. Now let's say, oh, I made a mistake. Darn it. You can ungroup them just as easy. So you click on the object and click ungroup. Boom. All right. That is a big crash course setting for this. But the important part about this software, and the reason I'm not going to huge depth, is this software I found is very intuitive, and honestly the best way to learn it is just play for the first little bit. So that is how we're going to get started there. Thank you very much.